And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, everybody. This is going to be the access case number 5. As I mentioned before, I'm just doing these recordings without the video. So they're basically like a podcast. You can still play the thing forward and back and so forth. But you know, when I'm here at the house or I'm casual, whatever, yeah, no point in having that done. So, and you don't gain a whole lot by just watching me typing stuff in. I mean, you get to see enough of that through the semester. So we're going to work on access case number 5 today. And it also lets me not have to worry about camera angle and all that type of stuff. So consider it a podcast. Nonetheless, we're going to work on database case number 5. It's Hollister University. It's over at page 202. And we're going to do some things here today. We're going to do some queries, work a little bit on talk or look a little bit on table design as we've been doing. We'll learn a little bit about indexes, what those are all about. And that will be pretty much the whole deal. Now, as is usual in these cases, they start out giving you, you know, the background about the company or the institute or the organization. This time it's a prestigious graduate school, and the admissions people have this database or want a database developed, and they want, and then the people, since they know they have this database, they want different groups of people want different types of information. And this is one of the things I've talked about before, and you'll hear me when we talk about this also in the data admin course, is this notion of what we would call regular or periodic queries versus those that we would call a serendipitous query, where someone just says, well, gee, I'd like to know if I could put these sets of variables together, or how many people did this on that day, whatever. This is one of those situations where we've got different user groups who want the database designed to give them information. Remember, this is always about using the technology, not for its own sake, but because it's decision-centric. That is, we use the technology to get us data that we convert to information that we can use to make a decision with to further company mission. In this case, they're looking at admissions data, including graduate record exam scores and various types of data they've collected. You've been through this process recently, so you understand how it works. You know, filling out essays, they look at your test scores, your GPA, all that kind of business. And over in 203, they go through some more information about that. And then there in the middle of page 203, they talk about the admissions committee and what the different members of the admissions committee are interested in versus others. And there at the bottom, page 203, they say it's become a political issue, and often these things will. And so some of the staff, admission staff, some of these people are unhappy. So they want to build a PC-based admissions database using Access. Now, as I've said to you before, this course, as well as the data admin course, prepare you to let you see the development and use of a database from all the perspectives, which are basically two: the back office, that is the database administrator and the developer, and from the end user or the decision maker, that is the front office, that's you and me. And again, that's part of the issues, the political issues of this is, you know, what data do we collect, who gets it, and then there's always someone wanting particular types of reports run, things of that nature. That's just the way this all works. So we're going to work on case number 5, and now I'm over on page 204, okay? And they have 5 tasks. Now, again, as usual, we're going to need to go ahead and get the solver student files, okay? And I'm going to diminish this down for a minute, and you're going to see I have those over here on my, and that 8 there indicates I've got 8 of those. So you'll want to download the solver student files to your desktop, that zip file, and then of course open it up, and you're going to find the Solve It Chapter 5 database. And you want to load it down to your desktop, as I've just done here. We'll take it out of the zip file and download that file and save it. And I'm going to put it back in here for a minute. See if oh yeah, that's right. It's going to say that. So I'm going to take this and very simply, I'm going to rename it. So have it on your database, have it on your desktop, and we're going to rename this as Access Case 5. Okay. And we're going to open this up and we're going to see the table that we're working with. We'll have to enable the content. And that, of course, is going to, you scroll down, it's going to be Hollister Case 5. You'll see it right here. There in the navigation pane. As a matter of habit, when you're in the navigation pane and you open it up, you might as well just go ahead and go on down. It says all access objects. So you can see any objects you've created at that point, including tables, forms, reports, queries, and if you've done a macro, that would be in there as well. Let's open up Hollister, okay? Now let's close the shutter there on the far left, and then we'll open this up. Here we have Hollister. We have what we call, again, a fact table, and this is a series of records. People who are the admissions people are looking at. These are prospective students. And this their last name, their first name, their address, the city, the state, the zip, the alumni. Are they children of the corn, i.e. children of the alumni? Their phone number, their age. We have and there's kind of a nasty critter there we're going to have to deal with. Are they male or not? We'll talk about that. And then the school, and where schools where they've been accepted, and the GPA and their declared major, and the GMAT score. The authors really mean their GRE score. And I made a note that here. They're really talking about the GRE instead of the GMAT. GMAT's just for management aptitude. GRE is the generic graduate school exam you take, just like the SAT or the ACT. Then they had to do they had to write some type of essay. You probably had to do that as well, and where it's graded on a scale, I think of 4 to 1. And then they have a question there about references, and some type of rating on the references, and then ethnicity. So we're going to come in here for a moment, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of work on this table. Now let's go down to the design view, okay, and click right, come under where it says ethnic, and we're going to put prospect ID, okay, prospect ID. And you know what we're going to do here? We're going to use the auto number, and we're going to create a primary key. Okay. And then we're going to take our cursor or move it all the way up there, right in front of the last name. We'll go up and we'll view. We'll save the table. Let's see if it's there, or it should be. There are the auto numbers, again, so that every number is unique. We'll go back down to the view. Let's go back up, and still isn't there. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to close the table, and then we open the table back up, Hollister. Those fields will be in their correct order. Let's close the shutter now. So we added a primary key so that every record's unique. So far, so good. Let's look over here now, and we've got a couple of things we want to clean up. And one of them has to do with this thing about, are they the male? Click on the design there, okay? And let's change it, because that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Instead of male, let's write gender. Or these days you never know. And instead of a yes, no, we're going to change that field to a short text. Okay, and we'll click yes. Okay, now we're going to come over here and we're just going to do a little bit of grunt work. We've got all these cases. Ever it said yes, we're going to make that male. In fact, we'll just use it. Let's put your thing in a caps lock on and just put it where it says M, or it says yes, put an M, where it says no, put an F. And we could do a form to do this, we're going to go ahead and just do a little editing here. So where it says no, we'll put an F, that means M. Where it says yes, because remember it was asking the question, is this a male or not, which is absurd. Let's see if that's a female there. Samantha's a female, I would assume. We've got this, okay, where it says yes, that's an M for male. Where it says yes, that should be an M for male. Where it says no, that should be an F for female. M. That should be an F. That should be an M. That should be an M. Why the authors did this was just to see if we'll pick up on the kind of junk like this that you find. Because if you looked at this objectively, and it says, are they a male or not? Well, this sounds almost, it borders almost as if you're saying, are these male applicants? And you're not going to make the males happy, and you're certainly not going to make the females happy, because the males could say, well, you're discriminating us because you're identifying us, weeding us out. On the other hand, the females could say the same thing. So it's one of these touchy deals. And the authors put this in here to kind of throw us this curve. These are one of the things you'll run into. And you have to be careful with databases and reports like that, because sometimes you can add some things that can be a little bit offensive to people. Okay, now let's scroll on over here, and they have ethnicity, and it says none. And this could be where someone just didn't identify it. All right, that could be indeed the case. They've got African, none, Hispanic, none. So they're not indicated there, and that could be problematic too. Let's talk about this table in terms of some things that we've learned. And again, the main thing is, if you look at this table, as we've talked before, there are a number of ways that we could improve this. For example, this asks the question, are they alumni? Yes or no? Okay, let's go back into the design view on that and find alumni, and it's listed there as a yes or no. Okay, those fields can be a little bit tricky. So what we're going to do is let's just go ahead and make that short text. Okay, just trust me when I tell you that those yes no data types can become problematic. And we'll go back up and we'll say save the table, and they're still there. Now, as we come across here, you can see we have some fields or columns that are candidates for a lookup table. The first is the state column. We could create a lookup table called states, and then we can have all the states in their alphabetical order, the to designation, starting, I guess, AR is, the AL is Alabama. If there's anybody above that, Alabama, then AR is Arkansas, AZ is Arizona. You get my drift. So as we're not going to do it here because we did enough lookup tables that we know we go into the column here in the design view. We click the lookup tab and we go down. We do a combo box. Then we go down and in the row source type, we do the query builder. and then we, design that column. So we'd have, that's where we do the 1 inch, 2 inch, that business. I mean, we did enough times in class. There's really no need to go through all that. And then on the zip codes, that one is a little bit more problematic because there's tons and tons and tons of zip codes. With states, that's 50 there. The zip code, we would go ahead then and leave that be. On the alumni, okay, we could go ahead and we could go ahead and create a lookup table on alumni, and it'd say a child of alumni or alumni child, you might call that the table, and then have yes or no. And I'm doing this because you may have someone who doesn't want to indicate that. And if so, you might have none. Then the phone number, we can, again, on the phone number, if we want to, we can do an input mask. We've talked about that and how we go back into that field. And we do the input that format. Let's do that real quickly. We did several lookup tables, so that wasn't a big deal. But we'll do the input mask on the phone number. And so we're going to click on phone, okay? And then on the short text, and we've got the short text on phone. And come over on phone, and the second line says the format. Pardon me. The third line, it's input mask. So come down in the general field properties, you'll see the field size, the format, and then the input mask. Then click the 3 dots, and I'll save the table now. And there you can see again is the phone number. And that puts it in that format. And with the symbols in the mask, I'll click next. And this is just an input thing. And with the data sheet, let's just to save the table, we're good there. So we've done input mask a couple of times now with phone numbers. You can see they're all nicely done. As I start to enter a new number, it gives me the mask. Then we have age. Then on gender, we could have a table called gender. You have a male and female. And you have an M and an F, and then a male, female. Some other places, you're gonna have an additional item there. On the essay, the GMAT, that's the majors. Here is another candidate for a lookup table. And then the essays, those are graded on a scale of 4 to 1, it looks like. And that we could create an essay lookup table where we have the numeric score and then what that means. So we just show so we get that drop down menu. And then of course on the ethnicity, and they called it, shortened it to ethnic to save the space. We could do another lookup table. And so I've mentioned this now in a couple of these recordings. A simple reason we've done these in class, and there's really no need. I mean, these are improvements we could do. So when you look at this case, page 205, the top of it, number 6, it says there are a number of ways this database system could be improved, and they will do that. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and close the table. And we can start to do some work now. And we're over at page 204. Probably when I said that about task number 6 is at the top of page 205, not page 206. But we've talked about the improvements that we could do. And there on the tasks on number 1, there are two main lists that faculty require a list of all applicants so we have a 1A. So let's create a query. So we're going to click create and query design. And I'm going to choose Hollister. We'll add that. And let's go ahead and we can move the bar up because we can do the drop down menus. And this is of all applicants on the admission. I just wanted to see the applicants listed by decreasing GPA scores. So we're going to get name last. We'll get there. First name. And we want them and we want their GPA. Let's close this off for a minute and correct something because I forgot to have us do that. Let's just do that now. Let's go back to the Hollister table and open it back up for a minute. And let's go into design view. And where it says GMAT, that should be GRE. So let's just change that right now. Make that correct. GRE. That's what they referenced there in the case. So that field is misnamed. So it should be called GRE. Okay. That's all we had to do there. Save the table. And now we're ready to run our query 1A. Click Create Query Design. We'll add the Hollister case 5 table. We'll add that. Now we're ready to work. Let's close that shutter pane so we can see what we're working with here. And we'll get the last name, first name of the student, and we're going to get their GPA. And we're going to get the GRE. Now, I want to talk about 1A there on page 2 of 4. They say a listing of all the applicants for professors on the admissions committee who want to see the applicants listed by decreasing GPA scores. Students with the same GPA should be sorted by decreasing GRE scores. Okay. Now, this gives us a chance to talk some about the structure of sorts in Access or just about any other database. Right here, we're in the design view. I'm going to go ahead and put that in descending order. The reason being, we want to have the people with the highest GPA. Okay. And then we're going to put, then we're going to come over to GRE and we're going to put that in descending order. Now what's going to happen is we're going to start with the highest GPA. Okay. And those people, they'll be sorted according to that order from the highest to the lowest. And then the second step, the second cut of that sort will be with the GRE. But GPA, because it's the first, you remember when we, in Excel, when we did those sorts and we had a primary, secondary, and tertiary sort in Access or just about any other database, if you're looking at this type of GUI, the very first cut is the primary sort. So we've got a GPA in descending, GRE in descending, and we'll run, little buddy, run, and there it is. And you can see, note that, and just to see what I'm talking about, take a look here at Louise Hunter, who has a GPA of 3.7. She has a GRE of 620. Then right under her is Cameron Bennett, who has a 3.7 GPA, but a lower GRE. You can see the same story going on with people at a GPA of 3.6 and on down. So we're going to click on this. We're going to save this as case. Say this is case. Let's just go ahead and case 5, task 1A. Okay? I'm going to put them all together there. So we've got 1A done. And let's open the navigation pane back up and make sure it's on all access objects. You'll see our query that we created. And then they say a second listing showing the applicants sorted by decreasing GPA. Students with the same GPA should be sorted by decreasing reference scores. So here's what we're going to do, my friends. We're going to copy this query. So put your cursor there on that query we just created, case 5, task 1A. Click copy, then click paste, and we're going to call this case 5, task 1B. Okay. And you'll see it there. Now let's open it up. And we're going to go into the design view on this query. And instead of students the same sort of a decreasing reference score. Now, this time, let's just go ahead and where it says GPA, let's just put in reference. Okay? See, we just changed the field that we're selecting. Yeah, you say, Dr. Harmon, couldn't we put this all into the same query? Yes, we could have, but what they're trying to accomplish here is to look at GPA is the baseline for these people as they're examining this, and then the second cut for was to look at the GPA versus GRE. Then now they want to look at GPA versus references, and that's it. And so we'll go ahead and we'll run this query. That's why I divide them up into task 5, 1B and 1A. Okay, and you can see people with GPA 3.7 and then those with the references. And you can see that. Now, I've talked before about the analytical cube. This is a good example where we have a dimension, GPA, that's important, where they want to look at that GPA versus GRE, okay? Then they want to look at GPA versus the reference scores. So you're seeing they're looking at two different pieces of how GPA is related to something, okay? And you say, could we run a correlation coefficient of these to see how they certainly. And all I'd have to do would be to export these queries into Excel and run a correlation coefficient to see how well they match up. Okay, really to plot them, and because they're both on a scale of somewhere around 1 to 5, it's not going to be that hard to do it. Okay, so not that bad. We'll probably do something like that in class if I can remember to think about it. So we'll close this off. So we've done task 1, A and B. Now, number 2 says the AO clerks absolutely insist on having rapid access to students' complete records on the basis of last name only. This is task number 2. This is simple to do, folks. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to come up here to Hollister, case 5. We're going to click create. And as you would guess, we're going to do a form wizard. But instead of a form wizard, we're going to do a, let's do a form wizard. We'll do the form wizard, and we're going to do everything. Click next, and we'll put that into a tabular. Try to look at this style. Looks like the most data sheet. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at these. I'll just keep we're going to keep the data sheet look. We'll click OK. And we'll go click finish. Okay. Now, let's close that off and let's get rid of that form. I don't like how it looks. It's not a good layout. So let's just delete it. And yeah, let's create form. They say more forms. Let's click create form wizard. And here we're going to come down and we're going to get look for Hollister case 5. There it is. Throw everybody over there and click next. Let's put that in a tabular data sheet, justified. Let's click next. Okay, let's go to the form view on this and we'll close the shutter bar. And here we have the prospect ID, their last name, and now they say they want to be able to have rapid access to complete record of that last name on. So let's find somebody's, we have their first name, their last name, and phone rings, and we're looking for Goodman. And remember in the form, we have this little search area here where we can do a free form search. Now, again, on the form, I can navigate all the way to the first record, all the way to the last record, or record to record. I can obviously add a new blank record into the form, and that, of course, will populate the table. And then I have this free form search here, and we had done a search for Goodman. So you can see this is what we could have for them, so as they call in, they can find that person's records quickly. And they might add some comments and stuff like that in there as well. So we've done task number 2 by creating that form. Task number 3 is one listing of just the applicants who are children of alumni. So we want the children of the corn. All right, so we're going to create the query design, and we'll get the Hollister table. We're going to add it. And we want alumni. We want their last name, the first name. And then are they children of the corn? That would be alumni. And let's close this off for a minute. Let's start over. Let's just click create, query design. Let's get Hollister. Let's add this. Now let's go ahead and we'll start with the last name. And close the shutter bar so we have room to operate. First name. And let's go ahead and we're just going to stay with, we don't want to junk this all up. So let's just get the alumni field. And then they've got some business here about the GPA and GRE. So we're back to that again. Let's click GPA, then GRE. And on the GPA, we want that in descending order. Same thing on GRE. Now, under the alumni, And the criteria there in the query, put yes. Let's see what we got. And there they are. Now we've done, basically that's task 3. We've got all of those who are alumni, children of the corn, children of the alumni, and we've got their GPAs in descending order and their GREs in descending order. And again, we see this same pattern emerge where they're looking at GPA versus GRE. And of course, we have the decreasing GRA. And then within, so again, look at the GPA of 3.6. So we have people who have then a GRE of 660, 630, 620, 620. And notice the two 620s, those were put alphabetically, I think. Gonzalez and Burrell. No, it's not. Well, they didn't alphabetize those. But that's okay, because we've got, no, let's see. Yeah, both of them had a 620. So how the database decided to list Gonzalez ahead of Burkle, I don't know. There was some other criterion that it used, but it did, well, we did get what we wanted. So we're going to close this query where we're going to save it. And this will be case 5, task 3. So we've done task 3. Okay, and we'll close that off. On task 4, says a small group of professors is concerned that education schools loading up with natural science majors. Okay, they'd like to ensure that students from liberal arts and social science backgrounds are considered as well. The non-science students tend to have better GPA scores than GRE scores because of an alleged quantitative bias in the GRE tests. They also tend to have better recommendations. Okay. These faculty would like to create a report. Here's what they're after. The faculty would like a report that plays to the strengths of the non-science majors. Create a report that lists applicants by college majors showing GPA and reference scores. Students of the same major should be sorted by GPA. Okay. So we're going to click, we're going to develop a query. Let's click create, query design. And of course, we're going to use the Hollister table. And let's see, we're going to get the last name. And we want the first name. And then we're gonna focus on their major. And let's just to make sure, and then we want the GPA and we want the GRE. Now they want GPA and reference scores, excuse me. That's easily done. We're going to get the references. And we're going to put the GPA in descending order. And we'll run this. Okay. Now, one of the things they say is that students of the same major should be listed by GPA. Let's go back in this for a moment. And on the major, since these majors are spelled out, okay, let's put the major in ascending order and let's see what this looks like. Okay, that's better. Now, here's what we did. We have them sorted by major. We have their last name, their first name, got that. Then we sort them by major, GPA, and references. And the major we put in ascending order so that they would be alphabetized and they'd be all in the same order. Then we put the GPA in descending order and the references. And we're good here. Now we'll save this as case 5. And apparently they're seeing some connection here between GPA and GRE and GPA and reference scores. Okay, they're making those connections. Case 5, this is case 5, task 4. You could see if you look at these word problems, how you kind of had to flesh through. This is very typical what goes on out in the real world. You have to kind of flesh through what people are really after. You may even have to have a conversation with them, or they'll send you an email or a phone call, and you'll run a report and they go, that's not what I wanted, and then you have to clarify with them. That's just part of this. We'll click OK. We've got that done. We've done task 4. Task 5, calculate the average scores by major on all quantitative variables and display the applicants from each major. Compare the groups in a 1-paragraph statement. Okay. So let's click Create, Query Design, and we'll come over here and we'll get Hollister. I'll add that in. Now, we're going to get and this time, we're going to get the last name. We're going to end up with a report that's all junked up. We get the last name, the first name. Now they said on quantitative scores by major. So we're going to click major. Now we'll put majors in ascending order so they're alphabetized. Then we're going to get GPA. GRE, SA, so we've got their first name, their last name, we've got the major, we got that in ascending order. And we're going to calculate the average scores. We're going to do that in the report function, so don't worry about what. We're just going to run this here. We'll put the majors in ascending order. We've got the GPA and the GRE, the SA, and the reference scores. Those are all the quantitative scores. And we'll run that. And there it is. And this is, we're going to save this as case 5. Now we're not through yet because we need to do those averages, and we're going to do that in the report function. So let's click report, Create, and we're going to do the report wizard. And in the dialog boxes, do you want tabular queries, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to find the query case 5, task 5. We're going to get everything, and we're going to click Next. And you want to add a grouping major, any grouping level, and I'm going to do that by major. And we'll click Next. And now you'll see here it says Summary Options, and I'm going to sort the records by last name because we already have it by major. And then here in the grouping Summary Options, I'm going to click Average, and I'm going to get the detail in the summary, and I'm going to click OK. And we'll put this in a portrait. And we see our choices there of stepped, block, or outline. And we'll finish, and there it is. And we'll go up to the report view. And there it is. It has the majors. For example, business, their last name, their first name. It shows their GPA, their GRA, their essay, and their references. As I said before, let's go on the layout, and we'll take that GPA and we're going to move it over, smudging. We'll move the GPA scores over. So I've said before, the report function and this jewel is nasty. Just a booger to deal with it. And I really don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time on formatting a report. Makes no sense to me. There we go. And we can move over the averages. There's the average. And so we have, as they requested, the majors we have them by major. We have their GPA, their GRE, their essay scores, their references. We have the average. They didn't ask us to group them, like descending order or anything like that. We did that by major. And then something about comparing the groups. Don't worry about that, or a paragraph doing that business. So we can close this off. This is case 5, task 5. We'll save the changes to that report. Let's open up our navigation pane. Here's what we'll end up with. We have case 5, task 1 query. Task 1A, task 1B, then we have task 3. Because we did task 2 by creating the form. And then we did task 4 and task 5 and task 6. We talked about that by adding in lookup tables and that type of thing. And then we ran the report that they asked us to for task 5, and we did the form as well. So that's pretty much it. And I'm going to return. I'm going to go back to the meeting and let's see here. I'm going back to the meeting. And let me diminish this down here for a second. Back to the meeting here. We'll stop the sharing, and I'll stop the recording.